Shalom. This is the book of Jude, verse 24. Now to him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise power of a Savior be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and ever. So be it. Giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakhaha, Kodash. And double honor to my teachers, the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone, who watch over our souls. Shalom to the Yakin worldwide that are sincere and serious doing the will of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakhaha, Kodash. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Do you all stay strong and stay mighty. I'm the brother, the disciple Koshab and Yamyan from the branch in Great Millstone, Barbados. Before we play this video here, First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 10. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away, all her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman she has become a born slave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Now, this is a channel I subscribe to, Black Journals, the Untold, the dark untold history the Arabs have tried to erase. So even you Ishmaelites, it's a pity you's a Muslim, boy. You all people that are Muslim, that's a damn shame, boy. There's Psalms 83. There's Psalms 83. I didn't even get that video. I ain't gonna play it all, but Psalms 83. And 1. Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power, for lo, thine enemies, so more than one, make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have said, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Right, like Bishop Sakaran said, I forget his exact words, but what is the greatest secret in the world? That we, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are God's people. That's the greatest secret, right? They have said, come and let us cut them off for being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites.
The 25th of March was, as usual, commemorated as the day Britain officially abolished its slave trade in 1807. But how many recall that Arab slavers were the first and last in modern times to ship millions of Africans out of the continent as slaves? The Arab history of anti-black racism predates European anti-black racism by several centuries. The early Islamic Empire exhibited all the characteristics of anti-black racism, and blacks suffered the lowest form of bondage. Europeans took photographs of chained black African slaves in Arab slave trading vessels on the east coast of Africa in the 1880s. Slavery persisted openly in Saudi Arabia and other Muslim countries in the latter half of the 20th century, 100 years after slavery was abolished in the United States. As late as the 1960s, African Muslims still sold slaves when they arrived on pilgrimages, as a way to finance their pilgrimages. Arab nations lagged far behind the rest of the world in abolishing slavery. Saudi Arabia, and Yemen in 1962. United Arab Emirates.
They lag far behind in abolishing slavery. That's Ishmaelites, Ishmael. Over here, according to Coolie Man. This company, with the big vans and sell, because they houses and sell all kind of household things, man. And they got the car parts store, they got the car parts sector taken up, man. You see? Japan, the Japanese models, you know what I mean? They got it taken up, man. Tires. Ishmael making a killing off of we. And they fuck a lot of raw women too. Excuse my language if you don't like it. But they deal with a lot of raw women too. And they're proud.
Emirates in 1963, Oman in 1970. However, unlike the rest of the Arab nations, hereditary racial slavery persists in Mauritania, despite multiple official attempts to abolish it. In 1981, by presidential decree, Mauritania became the last country in the world to abolish slavery, but no criminal laws were passed to enforce the ban. Under international pressure in 2007, the Mauritanian government passed a law allowing slaveholders to be persecuted. However, that law has rarely been enforced. Far more anti-slavery human rights activists have been prosecuted than the handful of Mauritanian white masters. In addition, slavers are offered compensation for freeing the enslaved, while the victims of the brutality are offered nothing. In 2015, under international...
So they get offered money while we still suffer. We ain't get offered nothing for the pain and suffering we went through.
National and some domestic mobilization pressure, the Mauritanian government created 3 special courts to prosecute slavery, but so far they have only tried very few cases. However, that's just not all about this oddly unique sect of slavers. The Arab slavers, at some point in history driven outrageously by their odd ambition for economic power and human control, had their African male captives subjected to unimaginable suffering and exploitation. Castration. Yes, you heard correctly. Now it is of utmost importance to note that...
Cut off our penises, big man. That's what Ishmael did. Ishmael cut off the men's rods. Ishmael cut off the men's rods. Hold a minute, man. It came back there. Hold a minute, it came back.
They could not reproduce their kinds to multiply and replenish the earth. Welcome to yet another video segment. In this video, we are taking a dive at one of the darkest chapters in the human history, marked by its profound brutality and stomach-twisting inhumanity, the Arab slave trade and the castration of their male captives during this dark era.
So like about that.
Like comparing which, between two evils, is better. It does not...
So Ishmael cut off adult males' rods and little boys' rods, big man. So when they grow up, they're only suitable for to be guards, to guard their establishments, you know what I mean? I didn't even know that when you cut off, in this video here too, but it's 27 minutes long, you know what I mean? 23 minutes long. Maybe I might download it from here, I'm not sure. See how the spirit goes, but they even when you cut off a man rod, you castrate a man, right? I didn't even know that it causes a lot of health problems. A lot of health problems. They lose a lot of muscle mass. As you know, the sexual desire gone, but that fucks with your brain, right? Because you see a beautiful fucking woman, you can't get your dicky hard. Your dicky can't get hard. You can't go on D with G. You can't go and talk to G. You know what I mean? It has a lot of underlying effects, big man. But let me continue, man. In fact, you know what? Let me read this first, Isaiah, because when I feed the Lord, you forget that what these people did to us, right? All these nations: Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, Ham, Japheth, Esau, Edom. The Lord didn't forget. Isaiah 49 and 14. But Zion said, "The Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me." Yeah, because acts like this from the Arabs Esau, Edom. Furthermore, hey, Ishmael didn't even want to abolish the slavery. Suckers, like, right? But so we get into this here, and we mourning like, what God doing this to me? Right? What God doing this to me? But you see, the Lord, hey, what's that precept? Hold a minute, man. You were strained. This is Baruch, I think it is. About I guess get off your spirit. It's Baruch chapter 4 and verse Baruch 4 and verse 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to the Most High. Ye have forgotten the everlasting power that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. You see? So back in Isaiah 49 and 14. But Zion said, the Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her second child, that she shall not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Thy walls are continually before me. So the Lord ain't forget, big man. The Lord ain't forget. The Lord ain't forget. Our punishment soon up, big man. See? Our punishment soon up. We're straying, man. It's Psalms. What does it say, my brother? Psalms 10, verse 11. He have said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face. He will never see it. Right. That's what these heathens saying. You see? That's what these heathens saying. Read it again. Psalms 10 and 11. He have said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face. He will never see it. Arise, O Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, all power. Lift up thy hand. Forget not the humble. Bear forth of the wicked. Contempt God. He have said in his heart, thou wilt not require it. What the Lord forget, man? What do you think the war over there in the Middle East now with Israel being bombed by Hamas? That's basically Esau, Edom, and Ishmael, big man. Fighting over that land. You see, the land ain't at rest. Right? The land ain't at rest, big man. Can't sleep, wanna? Cause when any people, you are not the people. What's that precept, boy? Right here too. To what the Alba Shemir Shai tell me to give the Holy Spirit, man. This is Baruch, chapter 4, and verse 32. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. Miserable is she that received thy sons. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning.
Detract from the fact that the trade in human beings was unspeakably hideous. In the Americas, slaves were allowed to marry, though their children could be sold off like puppies right before their eyes. But what happened to the blacks enslaved by the Arabs?
Hey, what's that precept, man? What's that precept, man? Their children could be sold off like puppies, right? That is what Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, she went through labor for 9-10 months. And what happened? Deuteronomy 28, verse 32. Thy sons and daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fear with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Look at this here, look. God damn, boy, look. Yo. Hey. What's that preset, boy? What's that preset, boy? Who gave Israel to the robbers? What's that preset, boy? Have not I the Lord? You see? So what's gonna happen? Let me just get this last preset here. There, Isaiah 14:1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. The Lord's gonna have mercy on his people. So this ain't gonna happen. This ain't gonna be happening no more. You see? This ain't gonna be happening no more. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So the tide can turn. The tide will turn. Thus saith the Lord.
Arabs castrated African slaves. Thus, they could not reproduce their kinds to multiply and replenish the earth.
Cut them off for being a nation. They castrated the men, and they took Ishmael took all women. You see, they castrated the men, and Ishmael took all women and had sex with them. Boy, when I go unlock the PF boy, shit, again, a lot of interruptions, man. So lock him, man. Hey, Lord willing, and I can download this here and put it on, man. Shalom. Yabba Shimel Shai Brakatam.
Family and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative, and subscribe to keep the channel growing. Your support means a lot to us. The castration of male captives during the Arab slave trade would be a forever-lasting, devastating experience for the individuals who were subjected to this depraved, inhuman practice and their families. In his book, Slaves and Slavery, published in 1998, the British writer Duncan Clark defines slavery as the reduction of fellow human beings to the legal status of chattels, allowing them to be bought and sold as goods. This, in essence, is what both the Arabs and Europeans did to Africans, to justify the shipping of millions of Africans as slaves to faraway lands in Asia, in particular the Middle East, and the Americas. The African slave trade, surely one of the most tragic and disturbing episodes in the history of mankind, Clark uncovers in his book, had its origins in the intervention of forces from the civilizations that developed in the regions of the Mediterranean Sea, today's Europe and the Middle East, into the arena of the more fragmented civilizations of sub-Saharan Africa. Africa became a source of slaves for the cultures of the Mediterranean world many centuries before the discovery of the Americas, but it was that discovery and the resulting shift in focus towards the Atlantic that prompted the culminating explosive growth in slavery with such tragic effect. Slavery was, in fact, a central feature of life in the Mediterranean world, especially in Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, Greece, Imperial Rome, and the Islamic societies of the Middle East and North Africa. The most important source of slaves in medieval Europe, Clark's research shows, was the coast of Bosnia on the eastern shores of the Adriatic Sea. The word slave and its cognates in most modern European languages is itself derived from Sclavis's meaning Slav, the ethnic name for the inhabitants of this region. For various reasons, including the harshness of the terrain and endemic warfare among local clans, Bosnia proved the most convenient and long-lasting of these slave-supplying regions. Whichever clan gained a temporary upper hand was always willing to sell its captured rivals in exchange for the goods of the Mediterranean world in the markets of the ancient Romanized city of Ragusa, that is, present-day Dubrovnik. From there, Slavs were shipped as slaves by Venetian merchants to supply new markets in the Islamic world. Thus, for the Islamic world, Clark further reveals, Slavs provided the major source of slaves in the 250 or so years between the defeat at the Battle of Poitiers in AD 732 that forced the consolidation of their dramatic conquests across North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula, cutting back the flow of war captives, and the expansion of the import of black Africans across the Sahara from around AD 1000. The number of people enslaved by Muslims has been a hotly debated topic, especially when the millions of Africans forced from their homelands are considered. With full control of a great part of Africa, the Arabs began to capture young boys and girls and took them to Egypt, where they were sold into slavery within Africa, or taken across the Indian Ocean to Indonesia, China, Southwest Asia, and India. By the 10th century, the demand for slaves from Africa to work as plantation hands, sex slaves, domestic maids, and slave warriors had increased greatly, so much so.
Zechariah 11 verse 5, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty. And they that said them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. Zechariah 11 verse 5, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
That an estimated number of 5,000 slaves were shipped out of Africa a year. The historian Paul Lovejoy estimates that some 9.85 million Africans were shipped out as slaves to Arabia, and in small numbers to the Indian subcontinent. Lovejoy breaks his figures down as follows. Between AD 650 and 1600, an average of 5,000 Africans were shipped out per annum by the Arabs. This makes a rough total of 7.25 million. Then, between 1600 and 1800, another 1.4 million Africans were shipped out by the Arabs. The 19th century represented the highest point of the Arabian trade, as 12,000 Africans were vehemently shipped out per annum. The total figure for the 19th century alone was 1.2 million slaves to Arabia. Some other historians estimate altogether that between AD 650 and 1900, 10 million to 20 million people were enslaved by Arab slave traders. Others believe that over 20 million enslaved Africans alone had been delivered through the trans-Saharan route alone to the Islamic world. Dr. John Alambella Azuma estimates in his 2001 book, The Legacy of Arab Islam in Africa, that over 80 million more black people died over that route. The Arab slave trade was so intense, bloody, merciless to say the least. The cruelty on African captives by the Arabs was beyond telling. Similar to the transatlantic slave trade, captured slaves were beaten to be weakened and chained together. However, captured victims in the sub-Saharan slave trade had to endure several weeks of walking through the desert, carrying loads for their new masters from West or East Africa, to where they were eventually sold in the slave markets: Cairo, Baghdad, Istanbul, Mecca, and other centers. These slaves played various roles in the economy of the Muslim world. They were used as servants, harem keepers, laborers in fields, mines, and hydraulic yards, and as cannon fodder in armies. In several of his detailed book about the slave trade, British explorer Henry Hamilton Johnston explains how several slaves died in the desert, while others who fell sick or were badly bruised and could not make it were brutally killed by their masters. David Livingstone, the British missionary, traveler, and explorer, was so upset by the way the Arabs treated their African slaves that he wrote back home in the year 1870. These were his words. In less than I take to talk about it, these unfortunate creatures, 84 of them, wended their way into the village where we were. Some of them, the eldest, were women from 20 to 22 years of age, and there were youths from 18 to 19 years, but the large majority was made up of boys and girls from 7 years to 14 or 15 years of age. A more terrible scene than these men, women, and children I do not think I ever came across. To say that they were emaciated would not give you an idea of what human beings can undergo under certain circumstances. Each of them had his neck in a large forked stick weighing from 30 to 40 pounds and 5 or 6 feet long, cut with a fork at the end of it where the branches of a tree spread out. The women were tethered with bark thongs, which are of all things the most cruel to be tied with. Of course, the bark thongs are soft and supple when first stripped off the trees, but a few hours in the sun would make them about as hard as the iron round packing cases. The little children were fastened by thongs to their mothers. As we passed along the path through which these slaves had traveled, I was shown a spot in the bushes where a poor woman the day before, unable to keep up with the march and most likely to hinder it, was cut down by the axe of one of these slave drivers. We went on further and were shown a place where a child lay. It had been recently born, and its mother was unable to carry it from debility and exhaustion. So the slave trader had taken this little infant by its feet and dashed its brains out against one of the trees.